everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you are an oldie and you've been watching my videos for, I've been doing it for about a year now, thank you for coming back, bless you, love you. My name is Teresa and I do videos on motherhood, plus size lifestyle, just general lifestyle things really. I am a mother of two. I have two lovely girls. I have Holly, who is 3, and I have Lily, who is just 7 weeks. And that's why I thought I would film today's video. So this video is all about my 10 tips for pregnancy. So without further ado, grab yourselves a cuppa, let's get into it. Okay, tip number 1. My first tip would be get yourself a pregnancy pillow. I think the pillow in between your knees works for a certain amount of time if you're trying to save a bit of money, but when you get to the point where you are big, you are uncomfortable, you need a pregnancy pillow. Now the one that I had was Dream Genie. It was great. It lasted me all through Holly's pregnancy and Lily's pregnancy. And what I liked about it is a lot of pregnancy pillows are huge, can take up the whole bed, and your poor husbands or poor partners are a bit like, hello, I'd like to sleep too. With Dream Genie, it kind of doesn't go all the way around. It's like a it's kind of like that shape. It goes across your back and then round and through your legs. And I always found with it that Chris really wasn't disturbed as such because it didn't take up all of his side of the bed. So Dream Genie was the one for us. I think they're about £35. I will link anything I mention in this video, I will link below. So if you fancy a Dream Genie, I'll link it below. You can get different pillowcases for them so you can change them up. So when the Dream Genie went upstairs in the loft after we had Holly, we literally just got it back out and I bought a new case for it for when we had Lily, so it's nice and fresh. And the best thing about it is that it actually transfers into a breastfeeding pillow as well. So when I'm sat breastfeeding, I put it all around me and I can breastfeed nice and comfortably in the middle of the night up in the nursery or downstairs. When she was newborn, it was downstairs with us as well. So yeah, my first tip would be get a pregnancy pillow. I know everybody says it's really annoying to say it, but you aren't going to get much sleep when that newborn comes around. So get your sleep now because you deserve it. Tip number 2, heartburn tablets. Pregnancy is lovely. It's a magical thing that happens to your body, but some things are horrid. And I suffered with heartburn, not horrendously actually, but I did suffer with it all through the pregnancy every now and again. And just having the heartburn tablets was enough for me. So I used Rennie. I had the little chalky kind of ones that you just chomp on, and it just got rid of that kind of horrible heartburn that was starting. Have them everywhere. Have them in your bag, have one downstairs, have one definitely beside your bed on your bedside table, because night heartburn is the worst. So you just literally want to roll over, take one of those tablets and try and get back to sleep. So heartburn tablets are my tip number 2. Tip number 3. Okay, let's talk about plus size maternity wear. Does my nut in? There really isn't much of it around, and if there is, if you do find some, I personally think it's quite expensive, and it's not, some of it's not that nice really. With Holly, I kind of got so excited because she was my first. I was like, I want loads of maternity wear, blah, 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 blah. I just want to get loads of nice new things. And I did. I went into Yours Clothing. Now, Yours Clothing, it's not expensive. You pay about maybe £25, £30 for a top, and you're probably thinking, well, that's not pricey. I'm a girl who likes to buy in the sale. I buy everything in the sale. I don't really ever generally pay full price for any item of clothes that I buy. But also, I wouldn't mind spending it if you're going to get a lot of wear out of it, but you're really not going to get a lot of wear out of it. So with Lily, what I did is I still had my maternity stuff upstairs, and lucky enough I was pregnant the same time of year, so it all kind of worked with the seasons. So I took all that down and I wore it again. But with anything else, I just bought big baggy stuff. Don't waste your money on maternity wear if you don't have to. One of my tips would be go to Lidl or Aldi. They do like 2 events per year, mother and baby event type things, and And generally always in those they will have maternity wear, and I lived in their leggings. Their leggings are brilliant. I would say the trousers are the one thing that you can't really get away with, really. So I did have maternity leggings, and they were so cheap. I think I want to say they were like between the price of £6 to £8, and I'm a size 22 and they went up to a 22 definitely, because I managed to get some for myself, and they actually did me for both pregnancies. I bought some new ones with Lily. Yeah, they were great. Yours clothing is really nice. If you do want to treat yourself, try yours clothing. But it's poor. It is poor. There's not much out there. There's not much in the way of I'm gonna go into a different realm of moan now, but like maternity bras and things, there's not much. I wouldn't say that I could find, unless somebody else could find other things. It just narked me that there wasn't a lot of maternity stuff for plus size women. But the flip side of it would be, don't get it. Don't try and hunt for it if you don't really need it. If you can live in big baggy things like smock dresses in the summer, they were great. You just don't need the maternity stuff. It takes me a bit onto breastfeeding clothes. Ugh, they're all horrible for plus size. They just don't sit right, they don't feel right, they're just not great. So what I've been living in is a jumper with a vest top underneath, and so if I'm out and about or if I'm at my parents' house, I don't really want my dad to see me breastfeeding, I pop the jumper up, I pull this top down, and then the jumper kind of comes over and hides my breasts while I'm feeding Lily. So just big jumpers, big tops, big baggy stuff basically. Tip number 4, a tummy support. When I was pregnant, because I have a big tummy, it felt really weighty. I just felt like I wanted to sit with somebody underneath it, lifting it up. So I did get myself a tummy support. I can't remember what it was called. Oh my gosh. I will link it below. I got it on Amazon. But also I got a lot of pelvic pain with Lily, and I didn't with Holly, and I thought that might help with the pelvic pain. And I think I got mine in XXL, and it was just uncomfortable. You know, as you'd expect plus size, it rolled down when I sat down because my tummy rolled over it. It just wasn't comfortable at all. So what I would say is, if you're feeling like that, what I did is years ago, I bought some like big pull-up knickers from Peacocks, and they were really, really good actually. They were really cheap. Don't buy anything that's restrictive or tight. You just want that little bit of support to lift. So maybe some big knickers, some like sloggy pants, something like that, to just make your bump really, really comfortable. Or you can actually get bump belts, which probably would have done me better, and you can put those on rather than like a whole support thing that goes over around your bump and under. And this one's just like, it looks like a boob tube, but it goes around your bump obviously rather than your boobs, and that looks quite comfy. So you might want to think about a tummy support. I will try and find some and link some below for you. Okay, tip number 5. This was my go-to throughout my whole pregnancy with Lily. So if you're watching this in the future, I'm filming this during February 2021, and we are still in the coronavirus pandemic. We are currently in lockdown number 3 in the UK, and it has been the most stressful time. I fell pregnant in March 2020. Is it March? Yeah, March, beginning of April 2020. And we were in the first lockdown then. So this pregnancy has been, it was really difficult. This pregnancy, I'm not pregnant anymore. The pregnancy with Lily, it was hard. It was really hard. I've been very honest, I think, in saying that it was the loneliest pregnancy ever. I was lucky because I've had a normal pregnancy with Holly, so I knew the lovely things you could do. You could go out and you could do pregnancy yoga, you meet other mums by joining lots of groups, and those things just didn't happen. So it was very, very hard and very, very lonely. And my saving grace for a lot of things pregnancy related or not really, was meditation. There's so many great meditations on YouTube that I literally just, if I was feeling really bad, feeling very low, I would just sit and take stock for like 15 minutes, go upstairs, lie on the bed, find a meditation on YouTube that was relevant to the way that I was feeling. So I would literally search, if I was anxious, I'd search in meditation for anxiety and I would listen to that. If I was just feeling like I wanted some pregnancy meditation, I would just search for that. So pregnancy meditation is a massive tip for me. If you're doing hypnobirthing, you'll know all about this anyway. So there are loads of hypnobirthing things on there, but if you wanted to do hypnobirthing, I cannot recommend the Positive Birthing Company enough. £39 for their hypnobirthing pregnancy course. They also have a postpartum course, which I did as well, which is great. Check out their website, I will link it below. Their Freya app got me through, I think, the first parts of my labour really easily and very quickly. If you're doing hypnobirthing already, you'll know all about meditation, how important it is. If you're not, check it out because it really will. I think it will just ground you. If nothing else, it will just relax and calm you, and it makes you take time out in your day for yourself just to think about you and your pregnancy and your baby and just bring some calm to your life, and goodness knows we all need that right now. Tip number 6. So my tip number 6 would be get your partner to YouTube or Google safe pregnancy massage. Now I can't, disclaimer, do not just get your partner to go in and give you a massage. Being pregnant is very different. I mean, Chris googled stuff that said you need to be really careful with massaging the legs too heavily because it could bring on labour or the side effects. So if you're going to do this, do your research. He really did do his research, bless him. He surprised me one night with a pregnancy massage towards the end of the pregnancy, where I was feeling very anxious, very low, was struggling a bit anyway, and he just wanted for me to take some time out for myself, and he wanted to help me. So he did quite a lot of research on do's and don'ts. Got some oil, and I just had a really lovely pregnancy massage, and it was really nice. So my tip number 6 would be have a chat to your partner, say, look, I want a little bit of me time, but to spend it with you, can you give me a pregnancy massage? But like I say, make sure they do their research, and please make sure you do it safely. Tip number 7. So tip number 7, this was such a good tip that I was given when I was pregnant with Holly the first time, and I wouldn't have thought about it at all. And that is to pack a hospital bag for your partner. Now I don't just mean a toothbrush, you know, a pair of pants. I mean like pretty much everything they would want. Snacks, everything. Remember, if this is your first time baby, you won't know this. Your partners don't get given any food in hospital. You feel very lucky if they are, and when you've had your baby and you moved up to the ward, they certainly don't get fed there either. So they've either got to go and buy a hospital food, which is so expensive, or you need to take your own snacks in. So you've done your bag, you've done baby's bag, do a bag for daddy or your partner. Get them to sit down and put in there exactly what they would want, and get them to think about maybe, you know, a couple of days in hospital's worth of stuff. It was such a good tip from my friend at work because I hadn't even thought about it. So we packed some high energy drinks, we packed some sandwiches, lots of snacks. It was different this time with Lily because I knew he wouldn't be able to stay in the hospital with me for very long, so we actually didn't pack him very much food. This time round I just packed snacks and things to keep him going because I knew once she was here he'd probably have to go home for a while, and if I stayed in he wouldn't be able to stay because of the pandemic. But with Holly, he would have been able to stay, because it was 3 years ago, for the whole of the labour, for staying up on the ward with me, and he did. We stayed in overnight, and actually we were there for 36 hours before we even had her. So we were in hospital a good 3 days with Holly, and he needed that food, and my mum kept bringing him loads and loads of food as well. That's another thing, don't rely on your parents because they're not going to be able to actually bring them food this time around. They can't come into the hospital, so make sure you pack some snacks and some good stuff. So yeah, hospital bag for them, their own little bag separate with all their little goodies. Big tip. Okay, tip number 8. My tip number 8 would be batch cook. batch cook your bottom off. I didn't get the chance to batch cook with Holly, so I finished work 4 weeks before we were due to have Holly. I thought the first week I'm just going to chill, I'm going to do nothing, I'm going to chill out, and lo and behold, she then came. She was 3 weeks early, and my plan was to batch cook the second week of my maternity leave. So we didn't get the chance to do that at all with her. With Lily, different story. So I finished again a month before, so I had nice 4 weeks to rest and chill, and she was a week late. So but actually I did my batch cooking in that first week, if not before. Actually did a load of batch cooking whilst I was still working. I bought some foil trays that I got off of Amazon, and I did like I think I did like a lentil, root vegetable and lentil cottage pie. I did a lasagna, I did fish cakes, I did a sausage and sage and onion pie, and I basically just labelled everything with the date, what it was, how to cook it, if I needed to add cheese when we cook it, if we could cook it from frozen or defrost it thoroughly, just all those things. So you haven't even got to think, because when you come home with that baby, all you want to focus on is that baby, feeding that baby, getting that baby rested and sleeping and napping, and you getting your rest and your sleep, and your partner as well. And so having that food in the freezer, you don't have to worry about cooking. You don't even have to worry about how the hell you cook it, because you've previously written on, when you were of sound mind, before you had the baby, how to cook it, etc, etc. So batch cooking is my massive tip. If you can do it, do it. If you've got the space in your freezer, use it. Tip number 9. So my tip number 9 is going to be about harvesting colostrum. Now, when I was pregnant with Holly, I didn't know anything about this, nothing at all. When I was pregnant with Lily, obviously I learned a bit more about this because we were booked in for a C-section. If you've watched my 37 week pregnancy update, I'll link it below, you'll find out all about our C-section story. But we were actually booked in for a C-section with her because she was breech. I spoke to the midwife and said, I really don't want the C-section to hamper my breastfeeding. How will it work with that? Because I was really keen to breastfeed. And she said it shouldn't. It would just basically possibly delay your milk coming in because of the hormone that goes around your body. When you are, I think this is right, I possibly could be wrong. When you give birth, naturally that hormone for the milk to come in comes quicker. So something like that. I'm not sure that's right, but it's something like that. And I think it's about a day later when you have a C-section that your milk will come in. So she suggested or recommended harvesting colostrum. So I did quite a bit of research on this. I popped on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, there's quite a few women who have done it really successfully, who have popped videos on there of how they did it, what they did, what they felt was the best way of doing it. What I would say is be really careful with when you do it. I held off doing it because I actually heard a lot of rumours that it can bring labour on, and I wanted to make sure that when we were booked in for the C-section that I didn't bring the labour on too much before the C-section. So I think I started doing it like the week before the C-section. If you're overdue, a lot of midwives will suggest doing it because it could start labour as well. So what the idea is that you're harvesting your colostrum, so you're expressing colostrum off into a syringe, popping it in the freezer, and then taking that to the hospital with you. So if you need that, you can actually use it at the hospital to then feed your baby. You can buy the syringes on Amazon. I'll link them below. I think I did about maybe 3 or 4 syringes. My best piece of advice would just be go on YouTube if you're interested in doing it. Do your research on it, have a chat to your midwife about it, and then pop on YouTube. I'll link the girl's channel below, or her video below, the one that I found probably the most helpful one. And then yeah, you can just harvest your colostrum. If you don't use it in hospital, then fine. If you use it, then great. Just remember that when you take it out of the freezer, you need to use it. We actually lost a couple of hours, but when I came home, I then used it on Lily because I still had some in the freezer. So it's not going to go to waste. If you've got it, use it. and if you have a C-section, it's definitely going to be worth you doing it or thinking about doing it if you'd like to. Okay, and finally, tip number 10 is going to be pamper yourself. Before you have your baby, book in for that pedicure, that manicure, get your hair done. Just make yourself feel really good, because you know what? You've grown a human for 9 months and you are about to birth that human, and you deserve to pamper yourself. I booked myself in for a nice pedicure and it was really, really lovely. So take the time while you can just to make the most of yourself and celebrate yourself and what you have achieved in the last 9 months. I know it might be difficult to book in for a pamper session at the moment, purely because we're in a pandemic, but past the pandemic, just go for it. That's what I'd say. Pamper yourself and have a great old time. So that's it. That wraps up my 10 best pregnancy tips. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you around for my next video. Bye bye.